Statewide, let's start with your patch.
Excellent. I'm just going to run through the top three.
Yeah, well, no, let's do the top five, and we'll just
I only have
you've only got the top three.
Yes.
Someone didn't do their homework. With the states? Give us the top three, and then let's see if there was anything that was irregular or upsetting or really good out of the numbers. So
the top three for WA in order were New Holland Honeyeater, Rainbow Lorikeet, and Galah.
Okay.
So, I'm absolutely stoked that a native honeyeater topped the list in the state.
And got the characteristic of being very adaptable garden bird. So, again, probably reflecting, again, if we interrogated the geographic data, that, probably...
It's definitely only found in the southwest, so that is a definite clue. Rainbow Lorikeet introduced and only found around Perth, but found in big numbers, so that's probably why it's sitting up high up the ranking. And then Galah found
and you can't ignore it. If the rainbow lorikeets are around, you hear them, and because you hear them, you do see them.
I am always super impressed if I can manage a 20-minute survey in the Perth suburbs and not hear a rainbow lorikeet. It's my challenge. It's really difficult, unless I'm head up into the Perth Hills, but on the Swan Coastal Plain, it's tough to find a 20-minute window that doesn't have rainbow lorikeets calling.
Yeah. I mean, they're a joyous bird, but they're displacing other species, I am guessing.
Most definitely. So probably the main issue that we have in Perth with them is they're really aggressive at taking over hollows. In fact, the Galahs are in the same boat. We have some delightful native parrots, so not just the big guns like Carnaby's and
Redcaps.
Blackcock. But red caps, Western Rosellas, elegant parrots, regent parrots, all of those are those smaller ones definitely struggle to compete with those bossy characters, and hence we don't get them on the Swan Coastal Plain very much.
When, again, probably testing your memory, but when did the Galah start to become common? Do you know when it was introduced? Give or take 10 years?
So partially it's probably self-introduced as we cleared the wheat belt. That provided fantastic conditions for them to move southwards. And they'll probably, who knows how long they were when they were first cage birds and released. But definitely they weren't really strongly recorded prior to, I think, the 1970s in a lot of the general wheat belt. I'm not sure about Perth itself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure... Again, it's only memory of a kid going back to, again, the time of the conquistadors. I'm pretty sure my Slater guide had them not occurring in Perth. I'm pretty sure that Matt said wheat belt, that the Great Western sort of area was as far as they got. They were always thought of as being an inland bird. When I was a kid, they weren't common in Melbourne. You didn't see flocks of them in Melbourne often. So, they've done really well. Smart birds, adaptable.
Definitely, And they're probably the thing that they do along with rainbow lorikeets is that they will not only will they use a tree hollow for breeding, but they'll keep other birds from using it at other times of year. And so that really gives them a bit of an extra edge, unfortunately.
Dibs. I got dibs on that hollow.
It's not the way it should work.
Okay, we haven't talked about Tasmania at all, Tegan. Have you got Tassie there?
I do. They, unfortunately, have, despite having some amazing endemics and just some fantastic sort of seasonal visitors, the top three for Tassie were all non-native species. So that was one of the... so top of the list was house sparrow, so we were talking about that before as potentially being on the decline. Apparently still doing really well across Tassie. But yes, common starling came in second, and then blackbird was the third.
Yeah. Gee, no yellow-throated honeyeaters. That's a bit of a bugger.
No yellow waddle birds. No, none of them. But that being said, again, birds in flocks.
Yep, people notice them. Well, let's see how we go with... Let's do Canberra next. I want to see if we get a Waddle Bird in there.
Not this year. Not last year. The top three for the ACT last year were Australian sulphur crested cockatoo and crested pigeon.
Well, crested pigeons have exploded where I live.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. They're much more adaptable than I thought. Again, when Arthur Phillip arrived in Australia back when I was a boy, crested pigeons were a real rarity in Melbourne. You had to go inland. Pretty much you had to cross the divide and you would start seeing crested pigeons. International listeners, Great Divide, Great Dividing Range. We have mountains that sort of come from right up North Queensland, right down the east coast, and then swoop around a bit past Melbourne, and that's a very significant geographical divide. It's much drier on the inland side of that, and that used to be you crossed over the Great Dividing Range and you'd start driving into central Victoria and you'd be looking for crested pigeons. So
I think they're quite similar, to my mind, they're quite similar to galahs in their behaviour. They're that sort of arid zone bird that will erupt into and take advantage of more coastal areas when conditions are good, and also when, they can adapt quite well to suburban life. So,
yeah, railways transporting grain have been very good to the crested pigeon.
Oh, yes. Well, to the galah as well, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's go and say hello to our friends in the tropical top end, Tegan.
So I feel like the NT has just snagged one of the best top birds
Good.
in the Magpie Goose. So, which I think is fab. Like, how fab would it be to have Magpie Goose as the most commonly seen bird in your bird count?
Again, they're the bin chicken of the NT, though, aren't they? They're prone to population eruptions.
Yes.
They are really good at taking advantage of good conditions. But they've adapted. They're a bit like the ibis. They have adapted to where suburban living likes to get rid of its rubbish. And they're not tearing open garbage bins and whatnot, but they're really good at scavenging. They're pretty adaptable at what they eat.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, they also make themselves at home in those fruit growing areas as well.
That's right. They love agricultural systems.
Yep. So Magpie Goose, red-collared Lorikeet, and little Corella. So they were the top three for the NT last year.
Little Corella. Again, I'd love to see the geographic data and see if they're a Darwin bird or whether they're a rural and regional record. Do you know off the top of your head?
I do have a cheeky reference here. I can just have a quick
cheeky reference, the Australian Bird Guide.
We might need some thinking music just while I find it. Here we go. Done.
I hadn't even got to the guitar solo.
Oh, sorry. That was a 17-minute track with a 6-minute drum solo in the middle.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So
across the NT is the distribution for little Corella. So this just shows quite a small pocket where you actually don't get them. Otherwise, you get them. You're different subspecies, but throughout the range.
They obviously filling that niche that the galah and the Salford Crested are moving into in the southern capitals.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
Where would you like to go next?
Let's go to lockdown central. Let's go to Sydney.
All right. You mean New South Wales as a whole?
Oh, yes,
for the
sorry.
bird count. Yeah. Yes, yeah. So, New South Wales, their top three looked pretty similar to the top couple nationally. So Rainbow Lorikeet topping it out, Noisy Miner, and then Sulphur Crested Cockatoo.
I did want to ask you something. I went down the Corella rabbit hole. Red-collared Lorikeet, are they in Darwin? Do they behave the same way as the Rainbow Lorikeet? They're obviously very closely related, look very similar, but are they the bully boys and the coolest gang in town in Darwin like they are here?
That's an excellent question, and I'm not
too
sure of the answer.
It's amazing.
I'm going to chicken out. I'm not going to meet myself.
Venture an opinion?
Well, I would suspect so, but I don't want to be on the receiving end.
No, you don't want to be on any Lorikeet hate mail, the end of any...
No, because they are bullies. Bloody hell, I'd never hear the end of it. I'd just get, trash talk from here to forever.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to go out there on a limb and say I suspect that they're occupying the same ecological niche, and that I haven't seen them in flocks. I don't know, but I'm guessing in an urban setting they probably are doing exactly the same thing. If the rainbow lorikeet isn't up there displacing them, they must be pretty good at pushing back. That's what I think too.
Yes, yeah. An interesting thing with rainbow lorikeets being between the southwest and the southeast is that I understand, not being from Eastern Australia, I understand that rainbow lorikeets spend quite a bit of time in Banksia, feeding in Banksia and things on the east coast.
Yeah, look, they do, but again, I'm not a scientist, but my lived experience with rainbow lorikeets and the flocks is that they follow the flowering eucalypts, so that whatever, whether the mountain ash are in flower or whatever, in whichever habitat up and down the east coast, they're moving up and down. We do have resident populations which have adapted to the fact that we are planting street trees like around here, eucalyptus or Corymbia maculata and citriodora and the ironbarks are street trees around here. So there's food for them all year, but the massive flocks, which we see, I see them in summer when there are more things in flower. I think they're adaptable enough to be using obviously there's melaleucas and whatnot too, paperbarks, and so they're super adaptable. They will sit on your Banksia cones and whatnot, but that's Waddle Bird territory usually, honeyeater territory.
It's interesting in WA. We do most definitely get them through both the native and the introduced eucalypt species, and on callistemons, but honestly say I've never seen one on Banksia. So they you don't get them in where we have patches of Banksia woodland. You might, if it's small patches, you might get them flying over between some of the like eucalypt canopy species, but not in the Banksia woodland. So we haven't really had them extend north from Perth because it's all proteaceous heath and Banksia woodland, which is quite fortunate actually.
I can risk the reputation that I don't have, Tegan, and I can say something like, I could pose a hypothesis, perhaps because they're introduced over there, that they haven't learned that behaviour of the Banksias are a good food source in a garden. Maybe they just never learned that.
It's interesting because they'd be here still seeing red wattle birds and the other honeyeaters feeding on them. Surely their sense of smell's better than ours, so surely they can smell the nectar. It is just there, but yet they don't seem to use it.
There's a PhD project for somebody.
Yeah. Hey? I've already got one.
There's one for you to supervise there, Tegan.
I'd be happy to. If anybody is interested in looking at rainbow lorikeet feeding habitats and impact on spread in the Greater Perth Metro, hit me up.
Rob, that's one for your lab, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it definitely would be.
All right, job. Behaviour.
All right.
Animal behaviour, everything. Brisbane.
Queensland, excellent. The top three, rainbow lorikeet also topped out the list there, followed by noisy myna and then Tahitian crow.
That's a beauty. That's an absolute beauty. And the reason I say that is I reckon most people would just go, that's a crow. That's a crow. No, it's a raven. Nah, it's a crow, mate. So really hard to identify on a fleeting look.
Yes.
And for those of us who are lazy birders, sometimes we just go, raven. That'd be a little raven.
Okay, so that's not in my go-to.
Yeah, I say that with absolute confidence. That's a little raven. Yeah.
I see your confidence face, and I know that listeners to the podcast wouldn't have seen your confidence face you were making then. But
or if you and if you move into the southeast, of Victoria, you go forest raven, forest raven. Yes,
they are chunky birds. I like them.
But seriously, Tegan, and I know we haven't done a lot of that today. How if you're 400 metres away from a big black bird,
Yep.
and you're looking at it with your binoculars,
Mm-hmm.
how often are you going to put your tick down in pen?
Depends where I am.
But that's playing the probabilities. This is really my point.
There are some places where I know that you'd only get one of those species. So in WA, you've got a choice of 3. It's Australian raven, little crow, or Tahitian crow. You can annoyingly, you do sometimes get them hanging out together and somewhat copying each other. There are people who say, "Oh, yeah, you can just go straight on call," but that's
the ravens are really difficult if they're crossing over with their ranges. I used to subscribe to that. Yeah, just listen. No worries, mate.
But that being said, you can, for the 3 that you get in WA, you can separate them out on combination of tail shape and throat hackles if you're lucky enough to see.
Well, hackles is the first go-to, isn't it? But
yeah.
But sometimes they just go, hey.
It's a young bird, or the wind's blowing funny, or they're just going to stare straight at you, not showing you side on.
They're just sitting there going, hey, have you seen that idiot over there with those binoculars? And then they go, I'm not showing you nothing. I'm not showing you me hackles. I'm not even going to turn around and let you see my tail. I was certainly not flying anywhere. Yeah. So they're really hard.
Fair, you can have that problem with identifying corvids. You can also have that problem with identifying honeyeaters or thornbills, particularly at a distance and with less than ideal.
Which is why sometimes you mark it down in pencil.
That's right.
I don't claim any bird that I have not absolutely 100% satisfied myself. Yep. I've got lots of nice ones. Oh, someone's gone past your place in a Harley. That was pretty cool.
I live in a great place.
Have you got the Midland Highway going by?
No, well, I back onto an alleyway. Like I'm next to Main Street, which runs straight towards the city, and back onto an alleyway. So if it's not reversing trucks, then it's motorbikes and pumped up cars making the most of the short distances between streetlights.
You're listening to the Bird Emergency Selling Houses Australia edition.
I have a lovely neighbourhood. Like I said, Southern Boobook's calling nearby. That's what's not to like about that.
That's right. That's a good point we just made about corvids. I think you can have a stab, but it's the honours system, isn't it? When you're ticking your list for the crows and the ravens.
And it takes time to get a full sense of the full range of vocals for a species, for example, and behavioural tics and things like that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with spending more time looking at it and less time trying to convince yourself exactly what you should put down on a piece of paper.
I can use my new favourite word. I wonder what the vocal characteristics are in a cline. Thanks, Maggie. I love you,
vocals Maggie. Vocals are the worst at the best of times. They're changeable between generations and
you get show-offs. Some of them, like one of the young magpies who is no longer here, who got driven away for this year. One of them was the songster. He was heading off for the Voice Australian Magpie series. He was giving it his all, and he was really varied. The other one was just a bit boring, didn't say a lot, but yeah. Where are we? I've saved the best till last, haven't I?
Well, technically, there's actually 2 to go because the bird count does also include the external territories.
Oh, let's do Christmas Island, Cocos and Keeling, Norfolk Island. Let's have a go. What did the wardens on our gulags? What did they tick off?
So here's where your seabirds start to come into it. So
Norfolk Island. Let's go. Yeah.
Oh well, no. So they've all been lumped together. Okay. So red-footed booby was the top of the top 3, followed by brown booby, and then the endemic Christmas Island white eye came in at number 3.
Very good. Can't resist, Tegan. Can't resist. Who doesn't love a booby?
Oh, I knew it was heading towards a booby joke.
I know, it had to go there. All right, the white eye. That's another one where we can talk about what's a species, what's a subspecies.
Absolutely. I'm sure Rob Davis would have some fantastic opinions on this as well, being such an aficionado of Pacific Island birds as he is.
Yeah. I might have to send Rob an email or just a DM. What's the taxonomic status of the white-eye on Norfolk or Lord Howe? Are they the same?
This was Christmas. Yeah.
This is Christmas. Are they even the same? Well, I'm pretty sure Christmas and Lord Howe are not the same.
Probably. If there's going to be a difference, it might be between those, yeah.
I should do my explainer. Christmas Island in the Indian Ocean, northwest of Australia. It's where successive governments like to dump refugees, but amazing bird life and crabs.
Yes.
None of their sort of indigenous birds in the top couple there, Tegan, on Christmas Island.
Sorry, how do you mean?
What were the tops there? We didn't get a fantastic pigeon or anything like that.
The only pigeon that made the list full stop was made any of the state lists was the crested pigeon in the ACT.
Okay.
There's always this here.
Oh, I'm hanging out. Christmas Island, that's one place I really want to get to. And that list includes Cocos, Keeling, Torres Strait Islands. That'll all be under Queensland, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it depends which state's jurisdiction they come under or whether they
so they'd be under Queensland. Okay. Though these external territories, Cocos, Christmas Island is West Australia, isn't it?
It depends who you're asking. Yeah, I think
I'm asking you.
When we want to claim it, we do. But I think if you're doing if there's a fella at the moment who's doing a WA big year, and Christmas and Cocos don't count for that, unfortunately.
Who is that?
That's Jeffrey Groom.
Hello, Jeffrey Groom. I hope you're listening at some stage on a long drive. Hope you're doing well. All right, for the rest of the country, if you were doing a West Australian big year, what are you aiming for? 300, 200, 400?
Oh, now you're putting me on the spot again, aren't you? I did hear.
You're not a very parochial West Australian, are you? I mean, I would have expected that you would say 424, and they're the best birds in the country.
Well, look, I don't deny that they're the best birds in the country.
We've got the best endemics.
We do. What are you talking about? No, I'm just trying to get a quick update on what Jeff's up to. What numbers he's up to?
Has he? I know he's got a website that we can talk about. Have we got Jeff Groom Bird Extravaganza.com or something?
He's definitely on Facebook, and he's a very active member of the WA birding community.
Okay. Look him up, Jeff Groom, Facebook, or I'll have a look on Twitter. If I can track him down, I'll put him in the show notes. That'd be cool to follow him around. That'd be cool.
And he did an interview with ABC recently as well on his big year. So
good. Let's look for that. I'll look for that too. Yeah.
So
I'll try my best.
Yeah. So as of the 3rd of July, he was up to 380 species.
That's good.
Now it's into the tough territory. It's the travelling long distances for small reward or waiting for some of these. Yeah, some of the migratory, something interesting to come in when all the migratory shorebirds start returning. Or
did he start January 1? Was that?
He did. Yeah, it's a calendar year.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Not an accountant then. If you're looking for a point of difference. And maybe Ernst & Young would be a good sponsor for a financial year big year.
Maybe. Hit them up and see.
I might give that one a run. Yeah. Now, did anyone do the bird count in Antarctica?
Not as far as I'm aware.
So we haven't got any Australian Antarctic territories in that count.
I don't think so.
Macquarie? Do we get any Macquaries? No?
Oh, not that I don't have access to the full data set for the external territory, so I'm not sure, unfortunately. I know.
That's a bit disappointing.
No, I'm rubbish. Don't have me on the show. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'll see what I can find out for you.
We'll have to chase that one up.
The random questions I didn't prepare for. Yes.
Yeah. Dear listener, as you can tell, I thoroughly give away all the questions I'm going to ask of my guests.
So much warning. Absolutely. Did you want to hear what the top three were in Delightful Victoria?
I do, because I completely. Actually, I want to hear the territory ones again because I forgot the external territories.
External territories. Yep. Number 1, red-footed booby. 2, brown booby.
Brown booby.
And then Christmas Island white-eye.
I just wanted you to say booby again.
And you got it out of me twice.
I did. All right, we're back into Victoria, my home ground.
Indeed. So, top of the list in Victoria last year was rainbow lorikeet. Possibly unsurprising.
Yep.
Second in the list, maybe also unsurprising, Australian magpie.
I imagine that's because everyone knows them and everybody sees them. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And then coming in third, noisy minor.
Noisy minor, again, everybody sees them because of the way they hang out.
Yep.
And so, really surprised we didn't see a wattle bird anywhere.
So
that surprises me.
Yeah, it's been so. In previous years, the wattle bird has made the top 10, and it definitely was in the top 10 nationally in 2008. You could say booted out by the ibis, but to start some controversy. But I'm pretty sure it made some top 3 lists from last year. Let me just have a quick look.
And
that would be a fib.
Yeah. Around here, I have red wattle birds and little wattle birds, both really active around the gardens and whatnot, and in the park. Yep. I tested this myself in my highly non-scientific manner. I thought that the red wattle bird was probably more numerous, but no. I think the little wattle bird is more numerous. The red wattle bird is just the one because it is protecting the trees that it likes. It drives. So I see it all the time doing stuff. But the little wattle birds are up high in the bigger trees. The red wattle bird is hanging around in the lower trees, more at my eye level or that I can see with the naked eye. Yeah. Now, again, I've applied my scientific method to that.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think the little wattle bird around here is more numerous, but not more seeable, for want of a much better scientific term.
Yeah, so comparatively, so in WA it's been split, so it's the western wattle. We get red wattle birds and we get western wattle birds, but western wattle birds are much less numerous. They tend to be a little bit more mobile. They tend to be following the blossom a bit more. So yeah, they're seasonal visitors to people with native gardens, but yeah, otherwise, whereas red wattle birds tend to be permanent residents.
And then again, for people like me who were born in the Industrial Revolution, brush wattle bird is the old name, I think, for the western wattle bird, isn't it? Which is the little one.
It used to be called the little. It used to be considered little wattle bird. I think we used
to have little and brush, I think was how I knew them. But common names, they suck. So,
they do.
They suck. But the proper names, they're too hard to say. So common names it is. So,
look, common names are one of the things that make things like the Aussie Bird Count accessible to everybody. So there you go.
That's right. And look, most people my age, Tegan, not young.
What age would that be? 23?
I was building aqueducts in Rome. Archaeopteryx. I think we all learned that one. We all know how to say that one.
That's true. That's true. Kids have a lot of patience for things like that, though.
Tyto's a good one.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Tyto's a good one. Laris. I'm a big fan of Laris and Sterna. Oh, yes. I don't like going too far after that. That's another good one. Oh, Turnix.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Coturnix.
Yeah, Coturnix. Gee, see, people start making it hard. They start doing revisions. What are you scientists up to? Bloody doing revisions, splitting things off. You and your clients.
Keeping ourselves in work. That's what we're up to.
Well, we're keeping ourselves amused.
To be fair, one of the really nice things about the Aussie Bird Count app is that it will also include some of those names that we know birds by that aren't their actual, like their accepted common names. So if you search seagull instead of silver gull, then
It
silver
comes
gull
up.
will come up. Yeah, if you search mudlark or peewee, you'll be able to find magpie lark, those sorts of things, which, help make it really easy. Down with gatekeeping.
Yep, down with gatekeeping. But we do like controversy. We do like controversy, so let's settle that argument. Is it a mudlark?
Or
a peewit, or a peewee, or a magpie?
The accepted common name is magpie lark, but that being said, language is fantastic. So if somebody says one of those other names, you still know what they mean, right? There's no need
Hang on. Accepted by who?
As with these things, there is a committee.
Yeah, there's always a committee. But it's not like botany where you go back to the first pressed specimen. Or actually, let's go down that rabbit hole. Is that how we determine which common name is the common name we use? Is it the first one that was given? How do we determine that?
Yeah, that's definitely the case for the scientific names, but not for common names.
So who's on this committee?
It's above my pay grade, Grant.
Who's on this committee?
I don't think there is a pay grade.
I want a word. I want a word with this committee.
More than one, I suspect.
I want more pork. Bring it back. It's one. See, the New Zealanders have got it right. They've kept more pork. They haven't gone with this booble.
It is always interesting. You have these species that are, eastern osprey or southern boobook, and we don't like this. Where do we get the other half?
Let's go there.
I think Osprey has. I think they have accepted that change, but I think that the change to where we can, like, adopting more Indigenous names into our bird vernacular, and also getting rid of some of those shady characters from history has been a good change. I know that the name change for Major Mitchell is up for.
Bird names for birds. Let's get on that. Coming up in the bird emergency, we will be doing bird names for birds.
Fantastic.
We'll also be doing birding while black, something I obviously know nothing about. So
there are many ways to be an ally, and
bird names for birds. I'm big on that one, especially when I love reading the histories of John Gould and John Gilbert and whatnot. But let's be serious. What was John Gilbert's job?
You've got an answer. I don't know what his actual job was.
Well, his job was to go out and shoot birds and send them back to John Gould. So, hey, now that's how things were done back then. But I'm not too sure we should be celebrating that. And Gilbert's Whistler, the ones he didn't kill.
Look,
saying. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying.
Shotgun ornithology is a whole different thing.
Yeah, look, it had to be done. It had to be done to. Did it have to be done? I'm not. Yeah.
It was in fitting with the time, with how new species were accepted, was that there had to be a whole physical specimen of it. But
I was just going to say something far more controversial. I don't know whether I should. When you say it was in fitting with the time, in keeping with the time. Well,
there's a lot of things that. Yeah.
So was poisoning waterholes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying it was the best approach for things. That's absolutely.
The good news. Good news is we don't do that anymore.
Absolutely.
So that's the good news.
And becoming more accepting of the fact that while they might have been new species to us, they weren't new species to humanity, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's right. You're really good at doing these little opening the door to a new opportunity, another rabbit hole, as I like to say. Bird names for birds is one movement, but how's the academic sort of bird community of which you walk those hallowed halls, Tegan?
Oh, I dabble around the fringes.
Well, Is there a movement towards, if we're going to be reanalyzing, reassessing the common names that we are using, is there a movement gaining pace to use Indigenous names where we can? We've got a galah, we've got a kookaburra.
Yep.
Lorikeet, I think. Is Lorikeet Indigenous name, or is it I think it's a bastardisation of Lori and Parakeet. But we can probably fool ourselves and say it's an Indigenous name. But is that gaining a pace? Would you like to see the eastern yellow robin become the something else?
I definitely would. We've seen this happen quite successfully in New Zealand, and where a lot of the Maori names and the English names are listed side by side, and to so many people they're synonymous, like there's no one used in favour of the other. And in fact, the Indigenous names, the Maori names are sometimes
Is the tui anything else other than a tui?
There's some old names. There's like a priest bird or something like that.
Because I know they've got like saddlebacks and things like that, but they're all being moved over. But Hawaii has a lot of native names, I think, still attached to their birds. I'm amazed that there aren't more here. We've got a fair few. Like obviously we've got the emu, we've got the cassowary, I'm going to assume, but I don't know is the cassowary.
So when we have a really we've made really good advances with a lot of our mammals. So things like chuditch, quolls and rakali water rats. Probably the issue that comes with doing it, with changing those names now, is that those are names that are found across multiple language groups so you have really widespread species that it isn't just a matter of it being quite similar sounding names in like closely related language groups, but has completely different names across the country. So in the old days, it would have been decided by wherever the type specimen was collected, where maybe that's still a good mode to go by. But making that decision now. Then
there's the other issue is somebody wrote down, I don't know, bandicoot. Some white dude on an expedition wrote down bandicoot, may not have ever been correct. So then we've got the whole other fringe issues.
There's definitely some legacy issues there.
This must be interesting because someone stuck with us the whole way, Tegan. Which I'm amazed at because we have gone down so many rabbit holes. I love talking to you. We've gone down booby holes, something like that. I love talking to you because you're very good at letting me run and pulling me back. It's all right. Let's go back to the whole point of the bird count. We've done the top around the states. We've had was there anything out of all the information that you've seen? And obviously it's such a big job. The analysis of it is still going on. Recovery teams are all having a look, I imagine. There's different data that's being given to different people and whatnot. But what are the most significant things, do you think, that you can draw out of the information that you've been able to look at so far?
So from my perspective, I think it's really important when you consider the immense effort that's gone into this and people who are coming from all sorts of backgrounds are doing it, I think that we can be pretty comfortable with patterns that we can detect with more common species, so things like magpies and rainbow lorikeets and things. I think, unfortunately, the bird count it's not the best method for detecting patterns in some of our more threatened species, or things like we were talking about owls before. They're, again, a species that that's not the right survey method to get a true count of their numbers.
Because, well, it's quite possible that I've got half a dozen barn owls living around near me, but I've only ever seen one. And I only ever saw one fly past the spot.
Yep. That's right. And for species that are best counted in other ways, in a lot of cases, we do have that alternative method already in progress. So in
Yep.
WA, for example, when it comes to our threatened black cockatoo species, we run the Great Cocky Count every year as a method of assessing those populations. They have they have survey methods in place for assessing how our western ground parrot populations are tracking in areas that they're known to habituate. We do shorebird and water bird censuses a couple of times a year. But I think the really valuable thing about this bird count, and again, you don't always see it just by looking at these top 10, top 3 kind of lists, but is that we're collecting data from places that we would otherwise like people like me who are paid researchers essentially wouldn't be able to access. The birds that you see in your backyard are not going to be able to be recorded by anybody else except you. That makes that data extremely valuable. And so the better that people, and I think people are getting better as the years go by, the people that do come back and do the bird count each year, in between counts, they are looking more at their birds and getting to know them.
That's right.
And
it's a gateway drug.
Oh, birds are a gateway drug. Absolutely. And I think, we're just going to be getting better and better information out of this as the years go by, definitely. And so to the point where hopefully it's not just our top, the most common species, our really readily identifiable species that we can tell more about, but we can also tell more about some of our less common species as well.
Yeah, that's where the data is really valuable from a management point of view, isn't it? You can go back and analyse the trends. When the pandemic's over and everyone can get back to their favourite national park, their favourite camping grounds and whatnot, and plan to be places. Because I'm sure in times gone by that really hardcore birders would plan a trip to be somewhere to get records in particular places that are not well populated. That's the great value of having a survey that is basically the same survey year in, year out, and the data managed by the same people, which is
And as I say, the nice thing about it as well is that this is the very community-focused, engaging the public, bright and shiny, once a year activity that we do to census birds. But at BirdLife, we're encouraging people to be recording birds every day of the year. That's obviously a little bit more of a difficult ask to get people involved with off the bat. So hence the Aussie Bird Count is a great hook. It is a great gateway drug into the deep and dark world of bird surveying. But for people who can go from doing this 1 week a year to doing seasonal surveys of birds in their backyard, to maybe joining a team that is going out and surveying an area for wetland birds or surveying shorebirds, or heading into their local woodland patches and reserves surveying birds. It's a great way to get involved and to be contributing that data year round that helps really fill out the picture of what's up with our birds.
If you're a casual birder and you're listening, it's important to understand that the kind of funding that, we talk about the 1970s, the 1980s, that when I was a kid and a teenager and whatnot, a lot of that funding has disappeared to do work like this. So citizen science is really important. That's why I continually go back. If I can find someone to talk to who's doing a citizen science project, I want to talk to them. Because this is how all of the decision makers are getting reliable information, because there's not a lot of funding for anyone to go and check out lorikeets, is there?
Definitely not.
Because they're not about to disappear, so they don't get priority. So citizen science is really important. The bird count's really important. And, hey, people like you working at BirdLife, you're really important too, Tegan.
Oh, thank you. I think people like you that are spreading the word about all these things are equally great.
Well, bird nerds are important. We're all important. Get yourself your binoculars, whether you're doing it with a pen and paper or whether you're downloading the app. You have to be either downloading the app or logging on to the website to enter your data.
It's really easy to do. And you can definitely, like I said, the Bird ID feature is there ahead of time, so you're more than welcome to use that to get familiar with the birds that are in your space. But the count itself is from the 18th to the 24th of October this year.
And while I don't want to be drawing away from the app, which of course I'll put a link to in the show notes, check out eBird, check out iNaturalist. Depending on where you are in the world, check out Merlin. There's wherever you are, get involved, have a look at what's around you. And if you're into fungi, or if you're into mosses, or if you're into frogs, or if you're into lizards, there's similar apps, there's similar programs, there's similar things, activities that are out there all over the world. So get involved, because you make a difference, don't you, Tegan? This little bit of data combined with your neighbour's little bit of data and the people on the other coastline and their little bit of data, it helps proper scientists like you.
It certainly does. And
decisions.
It is proper science. This citizen science is proper science. You're contributing data that can't be collected any other way. There is no way that paid professional researchers could scour the places that the everyday people who are passionate about their birds can cover. We've got a wonderful community out there, so it's fantastic seeing people taking the time out to contribute their time and their effort, and making it as a reason, when we're able to, making it as a reason to visit somewhere that they haven't been able to visit for a while, or a favourite childhood bushland patch or family holiday destination or whatever, and recording the birds there.
So get yourself a pair of binoculars, and Tegan's just told you it's proper science. You can get yourself a white coat as well
if you want.
Yep.
There's well, to be fair, there's no uniform for bird watching.
Yeah, there is in England. I think you have to have an anorak, don't you? In England, yeah. Although that means you're either a twitcher or a shooter. I'm not too sure.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. Whereas we're much more relaxed here in Australia, I think, about our bird watching attire. And yeah, like I said, if it were talking about, it's been a heck of a 18 months, 2 years for quite a lot of people. So just having the opportunity to be outside and breathe the fresh air and listening to birds singing does amazing things for us. So be sure to make the most of it.
Well, Tegan, anyone who's listening, and if they're regularly, hopefully they're like Nick, who I spoke to on Twitter the other day, and we're talking about Photography Friday. He'll be coming up soon. He ploughed through a few episodes in his 2,000-kilometre trip the other day, which I like to hear. But it's really great when people are supporting each other's efforts, and that's what citizen science is about. And there's so many good projects. But the pandemic, it's messing with a lot of us who are rolling in and out of lockdowns. We're not being able to get outside. So go and do the work that a lot of us can't go and do at the moment. Go and find yourself a scarlet honeyeater or a southern log runner. Someone go and find me a southern log runner. Have you seen a log runner?
I have, just the one, like just a fleeting glimpse, but yes.
Never seen a log runner. I'd like someone to tell me about a runner. What's the date, Tegan, for the bird count? Let's get there. What have they got to look out for? They got to go to which website?
Yep. The National Bird Week this year is the 18th to the 24th of October 2021. The website where you can enter your sightings or find out more about the count is www.aussiebirdcount.com.au. And the lead up to that, if you are following BirdLife Australia on any of the social media channels, you will not be able to help but hear about some of the fantastic things that are going on. So it won't just be the bird count. There'll be hopefully, restriction dependent. There'll be a whole heap of either in-person or online events and bits and pieces going on to promote our wonderful birds and the ways that you can get involved.
We've talked about the Great Cocky Count, Tegan. What are the dates for the Great Cocky Count, roughly?
So the Great Cocky Count.
Which month is that happening?
It's usually late March or early April in southwest WA. There are a few other counts, a few other great fauna counts that go on as well. I know there's been a pelican count. There's a white bird count that counts ibis and corella and sulphur-crested cockatoo on the eastern seaboard in the past. And there are also some counts for southeastern red-tailed black cockatoos happening at different times as well.
Yeah. So just put the great cocky count on your calendar if you're in WA. Get involved. I think the white bird count, that's like the wing tags and big city birds
That's
projects.
right.
John Martin runs that. So we'll publicise that as much as we can. I hope Tassie does something. I hope Tassie are doing something.
They did do a wedge-tailed eagle count.
Oh, of course, they do wedgie. Of course,
that's right.
We've featured that. Hello, Claire. How are you, Claire?
Where did I hear about that count? It was.
Of course. Where did you hear about that? Claire's been on twice. We did review, and we will obviously do. I'll stick with that. That's a great project. Where we're wedgie in Tasmania, but I just wondered whether there was a more general statewide count, because of course Tassie is very parochial, like you lot over in the west, but much smaller, and you can get around it. You can almost do a race or something. We could do a rally, a bird rally. Could do lots of things.
I think that nationwide the Twitchathon is not going to be happening in the same way that it has in previous years, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully it'll return soon. It'll enable all states to line up against each other and go and competitively race around the countryside finding birds.
Now, Tegan, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet, but you and I were talking about a new potential competitive outlet for birders too that might be coming up. So just look out for that one.
Definitely.
We're planning it, and it's not a Twitchathon, so it's something different, but you'll be able to compete against other birders. So that's what we want. I want a cup. I want to win a cup. So, or at very least, I want a ribbon. So
definitely.
Hey, Tegan, guess what?
What?
We've cracked 2 hours, mate.
Oh my goodness.
Look, hey, if you're still listening, if you haven't fast forwarded it, if you didn't fast forward, you heard all the jokes.
Such as they are.
yeah, such as they are. Tegan, I love talking to you, and I know I've had some comments. People love it when you're on the show. So Thanks. You'll be a victim again. Don't you worry. Worry.
More than happy to come and natter about birds anytime people like, Grant. You know that.
What should we talk about next for Western Australia? Because that's your patch. I don't want to tread on other people. We haven't really talked about stuff up in the north. Maybe we could come up with an idea for something in the
steamy tropics.
Where it's hard for people to go, but there is a great observatory up at Broome.
There is
plenty of people.
Yeah, Broome is a fantastic spot, not just for the bird observatory. It has an amazing bushbird selection up there, but it's right on the edge of Roebuck Bay and not that far from 80 Mile Beach, so it is one of the shorebird watching meccas of the world. It's a phenomenon to be able to see that many migratory shorebirds all arrive from looking freshly worn after migration from the Arctic or fattening up over wintering, changing colour as they're about to fly off. There's so much potential to talk about the wonder of shorebirds and what makes the Broome area so special for them.
For international listeners, Western Australia's big, like really big. And I don't know, I think there's 200 odd countries in the world, I think. I reckon you could probably fit 70 or 80 of them into the area of Western Australia. It's massive. So when we talk about Perth, which is where you're at, Tegan,
yep,
that's a tiny little slice.
It sure is.
We've hardly talked deserts. We haven't talked deserts.
No.
We haven't.
No.
So
haven't talked the like Pilbara Gorge country or there's
We'll get there, dear listener. I should also say, well, always up for suggestions. If there's something you want to know about, just let me know. And the easy way to do that is at Bird Emergency. There we go. At Bird Emergency for the video on Twitter, or Grant at thebirdemergency.com. You can always let me know what you think. I'll take any kind of commentary on board. BirdlifeAustralia.org.au. It's just birdlife.org.au, isn't it? Are you going to give out your Twitter handle, Tegan?
Yeah, more than happy to. So my Twitter handle is at Tegan Douglas, so TEGANDOUGLAS, or if you're after anything more general about BirdLife, at BirdLife Oz, OZ is the one for BirdLife Australia.
Just a news alert came up on my phone, Tegan.
Uh-oh.
Another part of New South Wales, remote part of New South Wales, has gone into lockdown. So that's why the bird count's going to be really important. We're going to need some joy and something fun to do. It's
yeah. Yeah.
I hope it doesn't get back to you guys, Tegan, because it's no fun.
No, me neither. And all of you people out there, if you've got the opportunity to go and get vaccinated, do. Otherwise, stick with the state advice. Stay at home if you're asked to. Minimise your contact with people at risk. Yeah, do the best thing for yourself and your community.
Wash your hands, stay out of crowds, stay home if you can, and listen to the back catalogue of the Bird Emergency, and she'll be right, mate.
That's exactly right. You want the perfect tool for social distancing? It's binoculars. Stand out in public with a pair of those babies and you look really weird. Nobody's going to want to come close. So, try that out. I don't. I'm not that sort of doctor. I don't give public health advice. I'm sorry, Grant.
Tegan, I didn't realise why people were not coming and talking to me at the supermarket. It's my binoculars.
Dear.
Actually, I'm in the market for a new pair. I'm in the market for a lightweight, groovy pair. But
I reckon Twitter would be able to offer up some suggestions on that front. But I reckon,
I'm getting a lot of opinions. But
Twitter's full of that.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of opinions. Yeah, you know what I'd really love, Tegan?
What's that?
A free pair. Am I allowed to say that?
It's your podcast. You can say what you want. That's one of the other things about the Aussie Bird Count is there's usually prizes involved.
There's prizes. Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the prizes is we usually manage to get sponsorship from Swarovski. So there's usually a fantastic pair of Swarovski binoculars, as well as some other. I think last year they had some beautiful prints from Egg Picnic, and all sorts of things happening. So yet another reason to get involved.
I might have to say Swarovski a bit more often in my podcast.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe, You've been asking people what their favourite piece of kit is. Maybe you should ask people what their favourite brand is.
That's right. I will have to incorporate that. I'm always reluctant to do that because quality equipment is generally there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 different brands. But I would love a new pair of binoculars.
Yeah, I think you never regret buying good optics, but getting as much as you're comfortable to spend, and I don't know. My advice to everybody with binoculars is always go and try them in the hand. What is recommended as something that's really good by somebody else, they might have really big or really small hands, be happy carrying something heavier than you are. Testing them out in the field or in your own hands is...
This bit's what annoys me. My pair are not comfortable to use, and I didn't find that out until after I'd used them about 4 or 5 times. And then you're stuck with them. You're stuck with them because no one wants your cast-off binoculars. Go, what's wrong with them? What's wrong? Why are you giving a good pair of binoculars away? What's wrong with them? Yeah. So...
Yep. Ergonomics, a good pair that's comfortable to use for long periods of time are an absolute treat.
They're starting to market them in fashion colours, Tegan.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing that. You want them black or green, like colors you're gonna lose them. They're the only colors you should get. None of this like bright orange and pink
The
and
mauve
purple
ones
and
are
stuff.
pretty fetching. Yeah,
Oh,
I like I like that. Does Swarovski make them in purple? I wonder. I don't know.
I don't know. They definitely make them in orange. I've seen some orange ones, and they do some
Ah,
like sand colored ones as well. But
oh,
I don't know.
Swarovski sand. Wow.
Mm. I'm not even on
Swarovski
commission.
Swarovski optical orange. I don't know. It's amazing. All right, look, we've been enough. I've been a sellout for a shill enough now. Look, thanks so much to someone stuck with us all the way.
Good
I
on you.
love, and I must say, I love it. Sorry, audio listeners, we always do the video live. Um, I generally make it a public link so people can stumble upon us. I love it when they do, and I love watching to see if people stick with us the whole way. Bird nerds like listening to bird stuff. I don't know if you know that, Tegan, and they
I
will
do. I like
listen
listening
to
to
a
bird
lot.
nerd stuff.
Tegan, would you like to know what's coming up soon on the bird emergency? I'm not committing to putting them out in this order.
I most definitely would. I want to know what I'm up for listening to. I can't wait.
Okay, tell me one word that describes the Carolina parakeet, Tegan.
Dead.
Exactly. I would have accepted extinct, but dead is perfectly acceptable. Yes, I did speak to the marvellous Kevin Burgio about the Carolina parakeet, so that's coming up.
Oh, it's going to
Seabird
be super.
soundscapes. Seabird soundscapes. Yet another citizen science project where you can listen to a library of several thousand seabird recordings and help do the work to catalogue them as part of a global project, but based out of London. Wimbrels in Iceland, the flyway that.
As if Wimbrels weren't cool enough at home, but
That's right.
Wimbrels in Iceland.
Well, of course, listeners to the show will know that I love curlews. Wimbrels are just cool curlews, other curlews,
Yeah,
non-conforming curlews.
curly
So
cousins.
that's right. We like rebel. And what else? The flyway, the Middle Eastern flyway that it's through Istra.
Wow.
So we're going to learn about that migratory pathway. We've talked a lot about the East Aid. What's your dog doing there?
Oh, he's just hanging around, getting in the way. He says it's time for a walk. I am having
Hello,
trouble
can you hear
hearing
me
you,
all right, Tegan?
actually.
Oh, he's just hanging around. You looking. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, you're getting stressed and the internet. I've got a job to edit a lot of that crap that I was just talking out there. But yeah, citizen science, seabird soundscapes, that's what I'm getting to get involved in. Tegan Douglas, what I always fail to write this down. What's your actual title? Oh,
So
I love
my
it. Oh,
job
she's
title.
totally dropped out.
No, I'm still here. Can you
No,
hear
no,
me?
you're back. Okay, go, go.
Okay, good.
Oh,
Let's before
oh
it
yeah,
drops
I
out.
can hear
I'm
you. I thought you couldn't hear me. Yeah,
for a little while. My job title is WA Citizen Science Project Coordinator at BirdLife Australia.
there we go. See, the world is amazing. This is the bird emergency. That's Tegan Douglas, Citizen Science Coordinator, BirdLife Australia, Western Australian Division. We've been talking about, I'm going to get it wrong, the great Aussie bird count,
It is
not
great.
the great Aussie backyard bird count. It's great. It's the
It is
bird
great.
count, and it's
It's the Aussie
happening.
Bird Count.
It's the Aussie
And
Bird
it's
Count.
happening, sorry,
It's
that
great. You can do it in your backyard. You can do it in your street. And it's happening.
on the 18th to the 24th of
I'm
October.
throwing the Tegan. It's the 24th of October, 2020. That's Australian Bird Week or Bird Week or the Great Australian Bird Week.
Why not all of them?
We can have
it is
it
great.
anyway.
It is Australian, and it is a big week about birds.
And if you're lucky, check out birdlife.org.au closer to the date and have a look. Pandemic pending, I have to throw that in. There will be great days where you can go and learn identification skills. You can go and learn the birds in your area, and you can walk around with someone who's as cool as Tegan. I can't guarantee they will actually be just as cool as Tegan.
They might be cooler.
No. But there will be people who are perhaps on the same plane of coolness as Tegan, and you can really learn a lot about birds, identifying birds around here. We're out this time, Tegan. I'm Grant Williams. That's Tegan Douglas. This has been the Bird Emergency. Thanks for sticking with us. This will be one of those great ones for driving between Cairns and Brisbane. See you next time.
Bye.